there's some better glues, but I think this is a really cool glue. So glue, so you start with a metaphor. It's just like what? It's as strong as an elephant, okay? Well, there's a tool, a brain glue tool that's called alliteration, the repetition of sound, and it's like Coca-Cola, Best Buy, PayPal, TikTok, Marilyn Monroe. You think it's a coincidence that they have sounds that repeat?
Boy.
No. And so they're thinking glue. So Gorilla Glue. Let's call it Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue exploded in sales because they came up with this tool that uses a metaphor. It's like it's glue that's strong enough that it's like a gorilla, and good Gorilla Glue. It sticks together. There's Famous Amos. Famous Amos cookies. He was fabulous, okay? And he made some of the most incredible chocolate chip cookies you've ever had. They're small things and they're fun and everything else. But part of why it became so famous was because of the name, Famous Amos. It sticks together like glue. So, if you take these terms like, if the glove doesn't fit, you have to acquit. Yes. Okay, O.J. Simpson in a trial with Johnny Cochran. I mean, Johnny Cochran's friend actually came up with the phrase. But I remember there were two women who were being interviewed after the trial. And the interviewer said, with all that evidence against O.J., how come you found him not guilty? And there were two of them. One of them said it while the other one's nodding her head in agreement. And she said, we knew if the glove don't fit, you have to acquit. The glove didn't fit. We had to acquit. It sticks to the brain like glue.
Yeah.
If you take it to, and so rhyme is one of those tools that works really well. There's also this one called chiasmus. That's what, it's a flip, So I'll give you an example. So I'll give you the example with Malcolm X. We didn't stand for, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock landed on us, the opposite, okay? When you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Flip. All for one and one for all.
Yeah.
And it's called chiasmus, which is this flip. And so when you say something, I got humor that goes like this. It goes, I'd rather wake up and pee than pee and wake up. How about that one? Okay.
Yeah.
When you stand for nothing, you'll fall for it. I mean, it's more powerful when you say it as a flip, than if you just say, hey, and I love that phrase, when you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. I mean, all of us, we talk to people, we try to talk somebody into something. So we'll say something like, hey, come on, you got to stand for something. And they'll accept it or not accept it. But when you use that tool, when you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, it sticks to the brain. And people go like, oh, wow, And there's just so many of these tools that stick to the brain. I mean, rhyme is a popular one.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of Jack and Jill went up the hill. I could be on my deathbed and someone said, hey, James, what? I'm dying, what? But Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pill of what? I haven't heard this for
years.
I'm old, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, maybe. And yet I still remember it like it was yesterday. So there's certain things that stick to the brain like glue. And it's really powerful that when you can come up with, you come up with a product and you're trying to, sell it. And if you can come up with a name that's really cool, then it blows your mind, but it gets people buying your product like crazy. There's a mom and son in Montana, in Utah, and they love Shark Tank, the TV show Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. And so the mom said to the son, wouldn't it be cool if we can actually invent a product and get on Shark Tank? We'll probably get rich because if they invest in us. So they're thinking, oh yeah, that's really a cool idea, Of course, if you have a job, Shark Tank's awesome. And so it took about a month, and the mom was constipated. So when she went to the bathroom, she had a hard time. So the doctor said to her, when you're on the toilet, if you raise your feet 6 to 8 inches off the floor, it helps. It changes the shape of your body, and it becomes easier going to the bathroom. I don't want to get too much into this, but And they're going, oh, wow, that's really a cool idea. And then she says to her son, maybe that's something we should come up with, a little toilet stool that wraps around the toilet. And when people are on the toilet, they slide it out and put their feet on it if they want. That's a really cool idea. So they found a manufacturer to manufacture it for them. and they were able to buy them for like about $4 or $5 each, and they could sell it for $20. So we can make some pretty good money, but we need a cool name for it. So they said they start with a logical name, and it's Toilet Stool. But they're going, that's not a really good name, Toilet Stool. So, well, what's another word for toilet? Potty, like porta potty. You ever see those? Porta potty. So potty. Potty's a cool name, and you're kind of squatting. Squatty potty. Let's call it the squatty potty. Squatty potty sales exploded. These are two people with no business experience. In less than 2 years, they had $100 million of sales. All because of the name. I was in the hospital just a couple of months ago, almost 3 months ago, for a heart bypass surgery. Not fun. And I'm sitting and talking to a nurse. And she says, so what do you do? So I said, so I just wrote this book, Brain Glue. And I start telling her the story of Squatty Potty. She says, I got to tell you this. I'm a nurse. I know that you should raise your feet off the ground. So I got this little stool that I put my feet on. But I was in a store and I saw Squatty Potty and I loved it so much I bought it. I said, you bought it even though you already have a stool? He said, yeah. It's so cool. So now I own the Squatty Potty. Just because you like the name? It's like, what?
Yeah.
But it's amazing, it's like when you start to learn this. So how I got an idea. How would you like to invent a product, like one of the greatest products, and somebody steals the idea from you and they make a fortune and you starve to death? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, yeah.
No, not at all. Okay, so they had a Post cereals that competes with Kellogg's. Came up. They were trying to come up with a product that's much better than stuff they sell, like cereals and stuff like that, because Kellogg's was beating them. So they came up with this idea of this little cake that you put strawberries, blueberry, raspberry inside it, and you put it in your toaster. And when it comes up out of the toaster, you got this nice warm cake you could eat. They said, that's a great idea. They came up with this, and they called it Country Squares. Okay. You probably know what I'm going to compete with here. So Country Squares. And 3 months, they were so excited about it that 3 months before they launched it, the head of the company bragged to the media and said, we got this new product. Isn't this cool? We call it Country Squares, and you put it in the toaster and all that stuff. The head of Kellogg saw this 3 months before they launched it and said, hey, guys, look at this. Look at what they're making. We got to do the same thing. Okay, this is incredible, that product, but we need a better name. So he's thinking, so let's see what happens. It pops out of the toaster. So pop, we got to have pop. And back then, Andy Warhol was a famous pop artist. They call him a pop artist. He was an artist that did all kinds of really cool stuff. Pop art. Pop-Tart. Let's call it Pop-Tarts. Okay? And they launched it 1 week before Country Squares got launched, of course.
Oh, man.
Okay. Pop-Tarts exploded. They sold more than any other product that Kellogg's had. In fact, they sold so many of it that they ran out of product like almost immediately. So what he did was he didn't want Country Squares to become successful. So he ran apologies in newspapers saying, I am so sorry we ran out of Pop-Tarts, but just hold on for a couple of days and we'll get more of it in the store. Nobody bought Country Squares. Pop-Tarts exploded in sales. I was seeing this article just a while back, and it said they sold 3 billion Pop-Tarts this year alone, okay? And Country Squares, they stopped selling it after a few months, even though they invented it, because they didn't have as good a name. And that's why you want, the more we can understand a good name. Well, I was thinking of this. So let's say your name is I Love Lucy. I mean, look at I Love Lucy, okay? How did they come up with the name I Love Lucy, which is a cool name, and turned it into a blockbuster? Yeah. They had a good show, but so it's Lucille Ball, okay, L. So we'll call it Lucy because that's everybody, my name is Lucille, but everybody calls me Lucy. So we should have the name Lucy in our name of our show. Well, Lucy begins with the letter L, So what are other words that begin with L? Lucky Lucy. There's a good show name. Okay, that's one. Like, love. I love Lucy. Hey, there we go. I love Lucy. That's a cool name. That's how they came up with it, because it's alliteration, a repetition of sound. And so when people understand these tools, they start applying it to their business or, the other things that they're working on, including just trying to persuade people. And it's amazing that it just blows people's minds, but it works. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's. I actually my second book I wrote is called Love Can't Wait, right? And but back I didn't know any of this back then. This is like 8 years ago. I was just sitting down one day, and I'm just kind of in my mind thinking, well, I need a book title. I said, okay, so what is this? Now I had the book all written, the whole thing, right? So I'm thinking, what is this book really about at the end of the day? And I said, it's really about loving yourself, you know, before you even get into a relationship with anybody, right? So I was listening to an interview, right, with I think the guy used to own a travel agency, and he was talking about the thing that made him stick out with his agency. He didn't when people would come in with the set up trips or whatever, regardless of what it was, hotel, flight or whatever, they would come straight to the office. He didn't have them sitting in the lounge waiting around, right? So I said, oh, wait a minute. So I was like, wait a minute. Love can't wait. And that's how I came up with the title. You know, but I didn't know. I was just sitting around. I was just thinking and different ideas were coming in or whatever, you know. And then, you know, first I thought I had another title. I think it was something like something silly, but it was a very bad title. And when my book got released, man, that thing took off. I was shocked. I didn't know I didn't know what to do with the money at the time.
Tell me about it. Yeah, really. But you know why it worked? Because it's passionate. Yeah. You know, I hated selling when I was young, and I went to a Zig Ziglar workshop when I was young. And Zig Ziglar had this great line. He said, selling is nothing more than a transference of passion. If you're passionate and you can put passion into describing it, then you can sell a lot more. You know, I mean, it's just you know, so you want so if you have a movie you love, I love the movie Hidden Figures. You ever see Hidden Figures with the three women from NASA?
Yeah.
Fabulous. I love that movie. I mean, it's one of the most favorite movies that I ever saw. You don't have to tell me how to sell it. You know, I love it when we are passionate about something, then you don't have to teach somebody how to sell it. You were passionate about your book, but you didn't like the title. So you came up with the title. And when you had the title that was right, you loved it. You know, I work with Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
He loves the book. By the way, he gave it to all the people. And he hated me because he said, I have so many books to read. I started reading your book and I couldn't put the damn thing down. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Can I use that as a quote? You know? And so I got video of him talking about it. But he's telling me that he wrote the book and he was going to call it 101 Motivating Stories That Will Change Your Life. But it's kind of logical, and it's, you know, it bothered him that that's what he was just going to call it. So it was after about a month of, you know, sleeping, he woke up and he went, you know, chicken soup makes you feel good. What if I called the book Chicken Soup for the Spirit? That would be cool. He said, it doesn't really work, but it's kind of close. Chicken Soup for the Spirit. He said, after about a weekend of sleepless nights, he realized SOUP, soup, SOUL, soul, soup, soul, chicken soup for the soul. That works. And suddenly he was excited about it. He came up with it. You know, I didn't invent brain glue. I invented the term brain glue, but brain glue, we have it inside us because we're emotional. We know if you're talking to somebody and you're emotional, it works. And for him, it was the same thing. It was emotional. You know, it's chicken soup for the soul. Yeah, that's what this book is about, you know? And he told me he wrote 60 other bestsellers, but none of them all of them had logical titles. This was the only book that really had an emotional title. And this sold 500. He sold 100 million Chicken Soup for the Soul books and 400 million of the other. Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, Chicken Soup for the Cancer Survivor Soul, etc. That's 500 million books. That's a lot. Next to the Bible, it's the next biggest selling book, okay?
Yeah.
But it sold so well, because there were great stories, but it also sold well because the title resonated with people. Okay.
Yeah. That's the thing. I didn't realize how powerful a book title. Well, not only a book title, just any title of almost anything. The way you speak, could be a banner, advertising. I didn't realize how it hooked people until I got older.
Yeah, exactly. I have this friend that was basically closed-minded, and I'm trying to tell him, can you be more open-minded? It'll really help you. But if I said that, he would have said, shut up, go away. Don't tell me I'm closed. That's how it works. So I'm thinking, what's a good way to say this? So I want him to have an open mind. So what else works better when it's open? An umbrella works great when it's open.
Yeah.
A parachute. How do you like to jump out of the plane and the parachute doesn't work? No. Okay, parachute works better when it's open. A book. You could buy a book, but if you don't open it, you're never going to benefit from it, or you probably won't. Okay. So I thought, let's pick a parachute. So I said to him, your mind is like a parachute. It works better when it's open. And he goes, Why, you think I have a closed mind? I said, well, I'm not saying that, but what I want you to know, that your mind is like a parachute. It works better when it's open, doesn't it? He says, yeah, why? What do you think? And then we got into a conversation. But if I would have told him, you got a closed mind, he would have said, shut up, go away, screw off, My friend, he's, crazy sometimes, but he's good. Yeah. So I just mean, when we learn how to use these tools, it helps.
Yeah. So what's it like working with big companies? Because, we see a lot of commercials on TV and, we see these taglines. They don't do it well.
No, they don't.
Sometimes they're saying and doing stuff in the commercials, especially when it's around the Super Bowl. I have no clue what the product is and what it does most of the time. So how is it working with big companies?
So big companies have an advantage because they can spend like $5-10 million. If you're going to spend that much money, and it's going to stick, even though, but brain glue works while it helps small. So there are these two guys in Southern California. Sort of a funny story about this guy. These guys would love sitting naked in their backyard, but I have no idea why. But anyway, they're really into that. And they weren't gay or anything; they were just buddies. But they lived together. They shared a house, So they decided that the juices out there there aren't enough good natural juices out there. So they wanted to come up with a natural juice that's better than the juices that are out there. And the main juices that was out there, I think they still exist, is Odwalla, which is owned by Coca-Cola. Okay, Odwalla juice, which I never heard of, but it's a major juice. And so they're thinking, well, we got this juice and we think it's better than Odwalla and all these other juices. So let's see if we can create it and come up with a name. Because they're into laying naked, they came up with the name. Why don't we call it Naked Juice? But, let's not make it too big because we don't want to get embarrassed and all that stuff. So it was fine. So they launched Naked Juice and people loved the juice and it sold really well. So then they had some money and they hired a graphic artist to make a standardized label that would go on all the different juices, different colors, but the same, good label. And so the graphic artist said, hey, man, I'm going to make the word naked big. And they went, oh, I don't think you should say, yeah, I'm going to make it really big. Okay, fine. And he made the labels for the juices with Naked Juice. Mm-hmm. Sales exploded past Odwalla, which is owned by Coca-Cola, to become the largest selling natural juice in America. Naked Juice. It's really good. They make good juice.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Naked Juice. It grabs your attention. I work with Warren Buffett's team. Okay, Warren Buffett. They brought me in when they started buying businesses, and Warren Buffett has great lines. He says, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. It's like, what? Yeah. Okay. But naked grabs your attention, Naked Juice grabs your attention. So when you understand keywords and you can use keywords, it really grabs your attention. There was an ad. I have a TV next to my computer. Okay. I don't normally have it on, but I had it on this day for whatever reason. I'm doing work on a computer. And then they have a commercial for Blue Emu. And Blue Emu is the stuff that if you have arthritis, you put it on your joints, your elbows and stuff like that. Blue Emu. I don't care, And they had a famous baseball player who was talking,